Y'all hear me? 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Put a one. 1 2 1 2 1 2.
Okay, you good now.
All right. Hopefully it stays like this. I don't know what's going on. I've been having some issues with StreamYard lately, man. Some people saying it went back out. Y'all let me know in the chat if y'all can hear me. If not, I'm gonna switch to my phone. So, all right, how do I want to start this thing? Make sure y'all hit the like button, family. Make sure y'all share the video out. If you would like to contribute to the platform, you can use the Cash App handle, Be the Power. You can become a monthly Patreon member. You can use the super chat. And there's a PayPal chat, a link in the description, I should say. So tonight we're gonna have a discussion about the Tulsa Massacre. I didn't catch the CNN piece, and I think CBS did a piece with Gayle King as well. I missed both of those. So what I want to do, Brother Ali, if you could just kind of give a synopsis of those two episodes that you watched and how impactful they were, particularly in light of the fact that we are, you know, pushing for reparations right now. Somebody said I got the battle rap mic going on.
Peace. Hey, let me know if you can hear me okay, man.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. You just on a delay.
I think I froze up.
Nah, so you probably frozen on your end. Okay, so we just having issues. We having some issues tonight.
I can hear your mic though.
Yeah, if you can hear us, Ali, we can hear your mic. Yeah, I don't think Ali can hear us. You probably got
off the network.
All right. So, let me see.
Peace. How about now?
I mean, yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I hear you good.
Okay, cool. So if you can, brother, give us a little, little breakdown of those videos that you watched from CNN to the CBS piece hosted by Gayle King, specifically in light of this push for reparations.
Well, there were good documentaries really highlighting the anniversary of that massacre that happened about 100 years ago. And the people of Tulsa, the survivors, and I think some of the descendants of survivors are looking for reparations. The problem that they're having with the mayor of Tulsa, which is a European Republican, but he's pretending to be sympathetic. And I say pretending because one of the key things that he said during the interview, I'm not sure which one he was on because he was on both documentaries. He was on the CNN one and he was also on the CBS one that came on directly after the CNN piece went off. One of the important things that he said was that he was against cash payments to the survivors or their descendants. And people that say things like that to me register as an enemy, even when they're trying to pretend to be sympathetic or friendly. to the cause. Because to me, what you're saying is you really are not interested in economic justice. You just would prefer things like, let's talk about it. Let's put it as part of the history, as it has been omitted from the history for the past however many years. Nobody, knew about it. There were people who were actual descendants of folks who went through that, were survivors of it. People who were descendants of those people that didn't even know about it, which is insane to me. But the fact of the matter is, the mayor of Tulsa said that he is against cash payments to the families of those people who bore that burden. Now, the CNN piece was good in that it highlighted the things that occurred for those 2 days, because I think it was the 31st and into the 1st of June that this thing occurred. And so it was over the course of those 2 days that this particular massacre occurred. The CNN piece was good, and it went into a lot of the history there. It talked about how the Greenwood section of Tulsa, Oklahoma, was actually spanned across 40 blocks. 40 blocks. And then today, it is down to like a half of a block.
Crazy.
So we went from 40 blocks down to a half a block. They had like 300 and something odd black-owned businesses. No, 600 and something black-owned businesses in the Greenwood section, down to today being 24. So you're talking about the loss of property in terms of actual physical buildings, property in terms of people's actual homes being burnt down, buildings being burnt down. You're talking about the people who lost their lives, men, women, and children. You're talking about the destruction of the possibility of giving birth to more children for generations to come, who would then add to, as human resources, the economy of the Black Greenwood section. So you took away the possibility of their earning potential. You took away the possibility of the education and the light that those children would have or might have brought to the Greenwood section to help in the upward mobility of the people there. You took away the ability to acquire and amass wealth and then pass it down from generation to generation, plus the accumulation of interest on that wealth. All of that stuff was taken away. All of it was taken away. And so these people are very much deserving of reparations. The descendants of these people who are still in that area, the ones who may not even be in that area because some people moved away, as we were talking earlier, and Josh mentioned, one of the women who talked about the fact that they moved away from that section, pushed out basically, they never returned. And I'm sure there are a bunch of descendants of those people who are in other places of the country who left due to that racial terrorism and never returned. So you're talking about, land, houses, business buildings, all kinds of things, along with the actual lives that were lost. So that was what the CNN piece was really dedicated to speaking about. The CBS piece, on the other hand, kind of went into more than just the Tulsa incident. It also went into what happened in Rosewood. They also went into what happened during the course of the 1919 so-called Red Summer around the country, where acts of racial terrorism and racial massacres occurred across this country. And, so that particular piece talked about that. And as far as I'm concerned, every one of those things works to undergird the reparations push from the federal government. What they're attempting to do is try to do some kind of agreement with these people the people from Tulsa, as some kind of a separate situation from the plight of Black America. But what the Red Summer does is it reminds people that Tulsa was just a blip and what happened to our people across this country. It wasn't just Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was Tulsa, Oklahoma is one of the most famous incidents of what happened during that time period, but it's not the only incident. This thing happened in mass all across this country. That's why you have to go not just with 1921 with Greenwood, you have to go back a little bit to 1919 and deal with a lot of the stuff that happened in the Red Summer all the way up until that point. You know, even with the whole Rosewood incident, which I believe came after. If I'm not mistaken, Josh might know the date on the Rosewood incident. That one, I believe, came after the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre. But the fact of the matter is, all of those incidents, as far as I'm concerned, should be included as part of what undergirds the claim for a federal reparations push. They should not be treated as single or incidents set aside from anything else that has happened to us, because it was all part of the same plight.
Indeed, indeed. Josh, you can jump in when you can. I know you're dealing with some things. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, yeah, you're exactly right, Ali. And you know, it's a meme that's been going around. It's one meme that talked about black massacres, and I thought that meme is extremely. I had saved it a while back, but I just revisited it, and I thought that meme was very powerful, where it shows like the United States map, and then it goes to break down the different massacres by year, and it has like, you know, a bullet point at that location. And it's very, that right there would just tell you what you need to know, and because it tells you like Tulsa, it tells you Rosewood, it tells you Ocoee. Another thing I like, it talks about Wilmington, which was, you know, in the 19th century. That's
late
right.
1800s.
That's right. And you know, it even includes the Dillon Roof massacre. Let's talk about that. You know,
That's right.
South Carolina.
That's right.
It talks about the move. It had the Philadelphia. You know, and if you don't, so in the meme says pick one and just go research it. That's what you just got to do with that. If you don't know about that, I mean, everybody need to be experts on them joints, man, because all of those are just extremely, extremely pivotal. And one of the things that I took from the Tulsa massacre that really stuck with they had the elder that I think she was like 107, and it was a couple others, was that nobody was served justice. No, you know, in terms of nobody went to jail. Oh wait, I'll take that back. The freedmen, the descendants of the freedmen, they were interned, and they were jailed and they were interned, but no Europeans were jailed and interned. So that's extremely problematic right there.
Speak about also, Josh, how none of the insurance companies that supposedly insured the black-owned businesses or the black families paid out any insurance.
They denied all claims.
That's right.
So if your business got burnt down, your house got burnt down, any property that you had got destroyed, no justice for that, you know. So even though you might have been paying your policy, you might have been paying your
generation of wealth creation. Well, the next generation of wealth, a whole generation of wealth creators, I should say, were destroyed, leaving the next generation what exactly? Fear. I didn't mean to cut you, John, but I just had to, you think about that in light of reparations. And you heard Ali mention earlier about the mayor who's against cash reparations, cash payments. I'm going to get into a story later out in Lenintown, which is in Athens, Georgia, about that as well. You know, there's this thing against cash payments, and I'm going to read that excerpt from Out of the Bloody Shirt. I haven't read it for a while on here, but go ahead, Josh.
Nah, I look forward to getting to that. I want to say another thing I was listening to. I don't remember which program it was on, but I was hearing somebody tell the story about how like not too long after um, the destruction of Greenwood, like the people of Greenwood, the freedmen of Greenwood built built back. They had built it to where it was more businesses there. You know, it was more, than it was before the massacre. And you know, when I hear people talk about that kind of stuff, to me, yeah, it's yes, it does speak to the resilience, but like you can't just gloss over like the damage, like the damage that was done, man. Like we were resilient, but it's kind of like when you're fighting for survival, you're not really thinking of what you really went through. Like you're just trying to survive. I don't have time to talk about what I'm going through. I'm just we have to survive. So we have to build businesses back up. We have to rebuild buildings. We have to do all that with money that we don't have or whatever kind of way we can get it. But now, like when we're looking back at that is a supreme injustice. Like I don't want to hear about what they had to build back when it was destroyed. No justice. If the insurance companies are not paying, do you think that they were getting any kind of justice in civil suits? No, no.
Right.
And you know, keep in mind this is Oklahoma. So, you know, these people, how did they get to Oklahoma in the first place? They
Mm.
probably these are freedmen or first generation outside of the freedmen, first second generation outside of the freedmen. You know, so you know, because keep in mind that lady that spoke, she was 107 years old. That means she was six when the thing happened, and that means she was born in 18 what? Yeah, well, I don't know, 1915 or
It
something
was
like that. You know what I'm
1910.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
like 1914, something like that.
1915.
13. That means like her grandmother was probably a slave. You know, her mother, her grandmother, or her father could have been a slave. And how did they get to Oklahoma? We know that for the large part, most of us got to Oklahoma because we were dragged on the Trail of Tears. And then, even though you may have been a freedman, you were not given access to citizenship of those five civilized tribes. Or you might have came, or who knows? If I don't know if a lot of those families came after because you know it was kind of like an attractive place for us to come and build up. So you know, if you think about those people, especially that one woman who says she left there and went to California. So she came from like just taking the travels of the family line. You come from. I'm not even gonna go to Africa. I'm just going generations on the plantation. Then
Hmm.
you might have gotten dragged to Oklahoma, displaced it again. Then you got free. You couldn't even get access to the citizenship in that tribal society. That displaced again. Then you build up or do you do for self. They hate you. They was hate. Understand that all of these terrorist attacks was hating you for doing for self. You do
That's
for
right.
self, they hate you. They destroy you for doing for self. Okay, so then you burn your house down, burn your business down, kill your family, kill your neighbors, all that kind of stuff. Deny you justice. You get no recompense. Displaced again. You got to go to California. What happens in California? We go watch the series Them.
Come
You know
on.
what I'm saying? So they're like, and then 2021, the lady 107, still talking about justice, and they talking about you know, the offer they was offering him was $100,000. That's what I heard. Man,
That's
please,
terrible.
please, man, that needs to be multiple millions minimum. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Multiple millions. It need to be like 10, 20 million. It's
Let,
only three people. You can give
let,
them 20 million.
let's do this real quick. Let,
Hmm.
let's speak about Oklahoma. Let's get
Yep.
into let me share something with y'all.
One of the things, one of the things that they said in the documentary
Hmm.
was that when the Indians were forced onto the Trail of Tears, you're talking about the five civilized tribes. Understand that they dragged with them, like Juanita said, the slaves, the black slaves that they had, into what they called Indian territory, which Oklahoma was a part of it. When they got there, the blacks who were enslaved by them became freedmen because due to those treaties that they had, the 1866 treaties, they had to free them. The United States told them that you have to free them and they have to become citizens of your tribes. So when they went out there, around the time of 1866, and shortly after, what they did was they granted the freedmen an estimated 1.2 million acres of land out there. 1.2 million acres of land. I wonder how much land black people own in Oklahoma at this time.
All right, let me. I want to share this real quick. Let's stick with Oklahoma. The fact that they don't want to do right by our people by giving us direct cash payments. The brothers and I spoke about this earlier because it would set a specific type of precedence, right? Especially if you give the type of cash payments based on, the time period, how long it took to pay, and all of the accrued interest over that time. It would be way more than $100,000, which I believe the survivors rejected, if I'm not mistaken. So let's share this. Black Oklahoma man faces first-degree murder charge after killing white alleged burglar. LaRue Bratcher, a 34-year-old Black Army veteran from Oklahoma, remains behind bars on a charge of first-degree murder more than a year after he had shot and killed a white man allegedly trying to break into his marijuana grow business. With his trial date delayed until this year, Bratcher's family and friends and members of the Oklahoma City community are rallying behind him, saying the murder charge is unjust. I feel like this was an injustice for the simple fact that if the roles were reversed, if this was a white person inside the facility, meaning if the white guy shot the black dude breaking in, he would not be in this situation, meaning locked up. Someone broke into his place, Bratcher's uncle, Derek Neighbors, said at a rally last month. He didn't go out looking for trouble. He was in his own place of business. You see, and then, it's let me read this part too. In 2018, when Oklahoma voters legalized medical marijuana, Bratcher established Premium Smoke LLC, a marijuana grow shop located in Oklahoma City, whose business license expired a year later. Why was that important? I don't know. Bratcher had planned to renew his license in 2019, his wife said, but learned he would not be allowed to do so until he made the nearly $100,000 worth of renovations to the warehouse that housed it, so he held off. I guess that. So around 1 a.m., Bratcher was at the grow operation warehouse when Daniel Hardwick, a 42-year-old white man, allegedly attempted to break into the business for the second consecutive night. Video from that night reportedly shows Hardwick park his car at the rear of the shop, walk to the business door, and jostle the door handle, attempting to gain entry. He was trying to break in when the business owner, who was inside the business at that time, apparently opened fire with a handgun, striking and killing the man who was breaking in. Master Sergeant Gary Knight with the Oklahoma City. So this is what I'm saying, right? There are the practice, I should say, of misjustice is still going on.
That's right.
When you have cases like this, when you have situations like this, it is a mainspring, it's a mainspring of the injustices that we face as a people. And Tulsa, Oklahoma is exemplary. It exemplifies this injustice. This brother doing what any normal citizen is supposed to do by protecting his business and possibly himself, because who knows what this white man was coming in there to do. He could have harmed this man. He could have killed him. We don't know. What we know based on the reporting is that this man tried to break in this man's shop, and the brother who owned the shop knew that this was the same guy from the night before.
Right.
Same guy. So you see, when we get into Oklahoma in and of itself, when we get into justice in and of itself, we start to see this. It's not an emerging pattern. It's a protracted war, a pattern that has been being woven since the establishment of this country. So we, somebody said they're from Tulsa. We get symbolism, and I'm going to get to some of that, and y'all can speak to anything, that I just brought up as well. But we get, let me just say, we get symbolism. And what I've noticed is that when this push for reparations first started, the boule puppet Negroes, and I'm going to use that term. It's not a term that I particularly like. The boule puppet Negroes were placed in front of the reparations movement. Slow it down. When we watch Kwame Brown, little Kwame Brown reference, go at Stephen A. Smith, the main thing that he's talking about is Stephen A. Smith gets paid to down other black men, strong, masculine black men that are on the rise in their sport. They try to use Stephen A. to gaslight black men to either stay with a team or go to another team, or try to weaken that brother's prospect of gaining the type of contract that he needs. Well, we have that in media types like Joy Reid, like Roland Martin especially. These are people that they put in front of us. On the political side of it, when we're dealing with politics, we have the Congressional Black Caucus as the gatekeeper, buffer class boule Negroes that are put in front of what we're trying to do. And I'm gonna get into some of that in a few. Then we're gonna get into the White House's this is just hilarious fact sheets on this is Biden-Harris administration announces new actions to build black wealth and narrow the rate. We're going to get into that as well. Yeah, go ahead, Brother Ali.
I just wanted to add that the brother that they have jammed up in the justice system right now out there in Oklahoma for protecting his business, what they tried to say, the reason is that he's still incarcerated right now is because his business was an illegal business. So when they mention the expiration of his license, that's why they're mentioning it. And they're saying that basically because his license expired, he had no real legal standing to be protecting what was there from any kind of trespassing, which is completely stupid to me.
That's
but
right.
That's what they're trying to say, is like he really didn't have no right because his license expired to actually protect himself and his property.
That's right. And that is just ridiculous, man. Josh, did you have anything you wanted to say to that, bro?
Josh might be tied up.
Yeah, Josh tied up. All right, so this is...
Yeah,
right,
go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Okay. All right, so this is... Where do I want to go with this, right? Where do I... Okay, let's go here first. Let's go here first. Let us go here first, man. I'm telling you, man, this is an uphill battle that we are fighting, and we have so many enemies against us. And in order to fight the real enemy, which is white supremacy, we have to defeat the buffer class. The buffer class, the Roland Martins in them, they're so much in the way that, like, it's like literal pawns in a chess game. and you're an amateur playing against a grandmaster who's so proficient at the game, he can beat you, or she can beat you with their pawns alone. Just with their pawns. Can take the queen off the board, one of the bishops, and one of the rooks, while you got all your pieces, and still beat you because they're so good at pawn placement. So let's do this. Let's start here. This is a Forbes article. It was published yesterday. Biden administration wary of backing reparations ahead of Tulsa visit. Wary.
Wow. Wow.
A White House spokesperson dodged a question from a reporter Tuesday about whether President Joe Biden supports reparations for victims of the Tulsa race massacre ahead of an event commemorating its 100th anniversary. As the president, like most Democrats, continue to tread lightly on the issue of compensating victims of that tragedy or the descendants of black slaves, like we spoke about earlier, Ali. When it comes to Tulsa, they are afraid of setting a precedent.
That's a fact.
Which opens the door that says reparations can be done. So these are the key facts. Let's run through these bullet points. And I think Forbes may have done an article on reparations last year as well. I'm not sure, but I think they may have, because I think. Yeah, what you said, bro?
And it sets the precedent that reparations can be done specifically for freedmen and the descendants of freedmen, specifically the freedmen descendants who were forced to bear the burdens of racial terrorism, acts of racial terrorism and racial violence across this country. And so it now, not only are we talking slavery, but the whole Jim Crow era for the descendants of freedmen is in play. So if you compensate the survivors of Tulsa and their descendants, what you're doing is you're acknowledging that the racial attack that occurred against those freedmen and against their descendants has caused an economic problem for their descendants. It has caused, because they laid out everything. It's a problem with the wealth transference, because you killed the future generation. By killing those people, you're killing the future generation. So you're killing them, you're killing the future generation, you're killing the opportunity to pass down wealth to that generation, because now they don't exist because you done killed the people who had the potential to procreate. You killed the opportunity to procreate, you killed the potential to pass their. So all of this is in play. And that happened to not just the people in Tulsa, that happened all around the country. So that's a dangerous precedent to set. And they know that.
Yep, that's right. So let me read, let's read through these points. White House Deputy Press Secretary Corinne Jean-Pierre, she's Haitian. She's Haitian. She's not a descendant of freedmen. That's key. That's key. That means something. When asked whether Biden supports reparations for Tulsa race massacre victims, saying the president continues to support a quote unquote study on reparations and has put quote equity in every plan that he has. I like the way Forbes did this article. You know, unlike the last article, Ali caught how they crafted that article by highlighting the fact that the license was expired. So now it's like, not only that, you're also swaying the jury who has probably read that article, right? So, but Forbes, I like the way they did this article because they are highlighting the fact that, yeah, Biden just supports a study on reparations. Just a study. He doesn't support reparations. He's already said it. And then when he was pressed on it again, he said, yeah, but that also means, Or that also means we're going to have to look at what Native Americans are owed. Well, they just got $31 billion, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, through COVID relief on top of the other federal monies that they get. So let me finish reading these. Biden previously endorsed the idea of studying reparations for Black Americans, but has yet he endorsed the idea of studying reparations for Black Americans, but has yet to formally sign onto a bill that would create a commission to look into the idea of paying the descendants of enslaved citizens that was approved by a House committee in April. I interpreted that to mean that Biden could have just simply put together the commission himself as the president.
He could.
We don't even need HR 40.
No, you don't.
We don't need it. So let's continue. The White House has also yet to comment on whether it would create a commission of its own should the bill stall in Congress.
See, that's it right there.
Where it faces an uphill battle to get past both chambers of Congress.
These people, Black Americans, saved this man's political career. They put him in the White House. And let me stop saying Black Americans. Stop that bullshit. We're talking about the descendants of freedmen. And I'm saying freedmen because the freedmen is the name of the people during Reconstruction who were supposed to be made whole citizens with economic access and everything else that will make them citizens. The freedmen and their descendants. I just posted a section of the United States Code that was dedicated specifically to the freedmen. It has since been omitted, but you can look this up. It was Title 8, Chapter 4 of the United States Codes that was dedicated specifically to people known as freedmen, right? And so these descendants of those freedmen are the people who put Joe Biden in office as the president, a position that he did not deserve, with endorsements from us that he did not deserve based on his track record and his political life. He didn't deserve it, but he got it because everybody was so scared of Trump. So he got it. Kamala Harris, she didn't deserve it, but she got it. The Democrats, they don't deserve it.
That's right.
But they got it from us, the descendants of freedmen, saved them and their political asses. And yet, the thanks you get is somebody dancing around the pool talking about, I support a study of reparations. Why? Why do you support the study of reparations if you have no intention on doing anything about actually repairing the people who deserve that repair? What's the point in having a study or commission to study it? What's the point in Joe Biden even saying he supports the study if he's not willing to bypass HR 40 and establish the commission himself? There's all kinds of commissions and boards and administrations that can be set up through the executive branch of government. This is a bunch of bullshit. And I swear, man, I don't know what it's going to take for our people to get on board in their own salvation, to participate in their own salvation. I don't know what it's going to take. But goddamn, if you don't push this man to do the stuff that needs to be done, it's not going to happen. Because when is the next election? 2022 for the midterm?
Yep.
If these people lose position in Congress, you might as well forget this reparations shit. It's a wrap.
That's right.
It's not going to happen. I don't care how much advocacy our people are doing. If the Republicans get back in position in Congress, forget about it, because you don't have control of the state houses, and if you lose control of Congress again, you can forget it. So if this dude doesn't do it from the executive position that he's in right now, and they lose position in Congress, we could forget this reparation shit. It's a wrap.
And that's why we have to put so much pressure on these people and start the Don't Vote Blue in 2022 campaign if they are not willing to accede to our demands. And it is simple as that, family. It is simple as that. So I'm gonna read through the rest of this real quick, and I'm gonna go. Let me read the rest of this. Biden is meeting privately with the remaining survivors of the 1921 massacre in Tulsa, Oklahoma on Tuesday, who all signed onto a lawsuit last year seeking. So it's more symbolism. Biden met with George Floyd's family. But if you read the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, it doesn't mention black people at all in the way that the COVID-19 hate crimes bills, specifically Roland Martin, mentions Asian Americans, doesn't
Pacific
mention
Islanders.
us. Now they got Roland Martin and Greg Carr and whatever that other sister name, Clyburn, saying the Republicans want to remove qualified immunity. Family, the qualified immunity part of that already weak bill is the one thing that gives the police officers some semblance, at least, of accountability. There would be some semblance there with this particular bill. Republicans are saying they're willing to pass the bill if you get rid of the qualified immunity. You got sellouts like Clyburn cooning on, I believe that was MSNBC, talking about it's better to have a half a loaf of bread than no loaf at all.
Sambo Coon, man.
What?
Sambo Coons.
So
and listen, qualified immunity is for civil suits. Let's just be clear. And like you said, it would give some semblance of accountability. But see, what we really need are for police officers to be prosecuted and convicted for extrajudicial murders.
That's right.
And what we really need is a federal lynching law, right? Because we have a civil rights law, right? We have the Title 18, I believe it's Section 241 or 242. You guys can look it up on whoever has access to the computer. Title 18, Section 241 or 242, or both. You can look at both of them. But those are civil rights laws that deal with the violations of civil rights. What we really need is an anti-lynching law where the penalty for lynching, whether the person is a regular citizen or a police officer, the penalty is death. That's what we need. An anti-lynching law where the penalty is death. That would put a real dent, in my opinion, in a lot of the things that have been going on with the police and other white people who want to pretend to be police simply because they're white and you're in their vicinity. So the murderers of Ahmaud Arbery, the murder of Trayvon Martin, etc. These regular civilians that decided because somebody is quote unquote black that they have the right to do what they did. These people need to be held to account under an anti-lynching law, a federal law, right? And the same thing with any of the police officers. George Floyd, George Floyd is going to get time in prison. The chick that killed
Derek
Chauvin. Not George Floyd, Derek Chauvin, that killed George Floyd. He's going to get time in prison. What's the chick name down in Florida that killed the black guy down there in Florida in his house? She went in his house and said she thought
Amber Geiger.
She was getting time in prison.
Was that Florida?
No, that was in Texas. I meant in Texas. I'm all over the place, but okay, but it was in Texas. And Amber Geiger, she's getting time in prison. Those people need to be held to account under a federal anti-lynching bill where the penalty for such activity is death. See, I think that kind of thing would curb a lot of the actions of these people who feel that Worst case scenario, I'll get a slap on the wrist. I might get some time in jail.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, I'll be out in a handful of years.
The one that thought that her gun was a taser, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. All of that kind of stuff, man. Where's the anti-lynching law? That's what we need, man. Go ahead, Bob.
Let's show what our elected officials, the Congressional Black Caucus, are doing as opposed to being representatives, pushers, propagators of what our brother Ali just said. Let's show what these people are doing. This is Sheila Jackson Lee and the other guy. I can't even remember his name at the moment. But this is what they're doing out there. You hear the music though.
Hitler. It's a mixture.
Let me cut this off.
It's a mixture of
you said
West
fiddler?
African. It's a mixture of West African drumming with, the type of fiddling on the violin that, enslaved people used to do. And mind you, these people were actually violin players, right? But white people said they were fiddling. You see? Denigration.
That's
disrespect.
Right. That's right.
Disrespect. Oh, go ahead.
All right. So one of the things it says on that Forbes article, it says this. It says, ahead of the trip, Biden unveiled the White House initiative to narrow the racial wealth gap, including a promise to increase the number of federal contracts granted to minority-owned businesses by 50% and the rollback of 2 Trump-era housing rules. There's so many issues with a wealthless group that has problems accessing capital in the first place. And the main people having access to that capital are largely, if we use New York as an example, are people of who are immigrants or are of immigrant descent, who took advantage of previous programs like affirmative action, etc., and were able to, like the West Indian lady told me, it seems like us blacks from the islands can come over here and set right up. But it seemed like America has a problem with you American blacks. You see?
Seems like.
Yeah. So I want to get into this real quick. So shout out to Sister Cynthia. She sent this to me earlier. And this is what that article was alluding to. This White House released this fact sheet. Biden-Harris administration announces new actions to build black wealth and narrow the racial wealth gap. So it starts off great. It starts off great. 100 years ago, the thriving black community of Greenwood in Tulsa, Oklahoma, known as Black Wall Street, was ruthlessly attacked by a violent white supremacist mob. An estimated 300 black Americans were killed and another 10,000 were left destitute and homeless. What they should have done was added every last situation: Colfax, Ocoee, Rosewood, Wilmington, etc., etc. They should have added all of that. But they can do to the people in Oklahoma. The federal government could look at what the government is doing in Oklahoma with the black Tulsans and use that as a model to continue the left-wing white supremacist practice of benign neglect. Right? Just let them, because benign neglect means just let them protest, let them march, let them beat drums while fiddler fiddles, and Sheila Jackson Lee and Cedric, whatever that guy's name is from Georgia. I mean, if that wasn't the most slavish, slave shucking job dance I've ever seen that wasn't part of some act for a movie, I don't know what the hell was. I just don't know. So this thing talks about, because disparities in wealth compound like an interest rate. Oh, they acknowledge that. Oh, this is a double-edged sword right here for those who are listening in. Matter of fact, because you know how we do. I like to put stuff in the chat. Let me put this in the chat. Hit that Cash App, y'all. The URL is too long. Hit that thumbs up. I can't put it in the chat, y'all. The the URL is too long, but you can pull it up for yourselves. It is called the Biden-Harris administration announces new actions to build black wealth and narrow the racial wealth gap. It was put out yesterday by the White House, right? So let me see. Let me just read this part, and then I'm going to get into some. Basically, it's talking about how the wealth gap was created.
Mm-hmm.
The median black American family has 13 cents for every $1 in wealth held by white families, right? Because this article speaks about this divestment of black families in Tulsa and across the United States. So what the Biden plan is to do, I don't know if y'all heard me in prior streams speak about when they say they're investing in poor middle-class communities. What those investments look like is changing the facing on housing projects, planting bushes and cement flower pots that the bushes, so I guess the projects can look more aesthetic while somebody's brains get blasted out on the bushes, right? And the crackhead is going in the building to take a piss in the elevator after copping his or her crack. So nothing is addressing the problem. They're just going to create a whitewashed tomb, as my Christian people will recognize in the biblical narrative of Jesus in Matthew 23. So it says the administration will take action to address racial discrimination in the housing market, including by launching a first of its kind interagency effort to address inequity in home appraisals and conducting rulemaking to aggressively combat housing discrimination.
Listen, they're still not talking about it. So those are not things to close the racial wealth gap, right? It's not doing anything. We're going to look at some stuff and we're going to look at some stuff. And then after we look at some stuff, we're going to look at some more things. Then after we look at those, we're going to look at some other stuff, right? This is what they're saying. That's what it all sounds like to me. And then ultimately what we're going to do is we're going to do stuff for BIPOC, right? We're going to do stuff for BIPOC so that BIPOC will, once we do these things for BIPOC, it'll help close the racial wealth gap. So again, using the plight of Black Americans to slide in benefits for BIPOC, and basically not even BIPOC, and probably more than anything go to the IPOC people, before it get to the BIPOC. You know what I'm saying? It's so in your face. It's so blatant such blatant disrespect. The fact that they consistently use our plight to shoehorn in, everybody else.
Wait, Ali, let's look at this next bullet point, because it speaks exactly to what you just said. Use the federal government's purchasing power to grow federal contracting with small disadvantaged businesses by 50%, translating to an additional $100 billion over 5 years, and helping more Americans realize their entrepreneurial, I always say that kind of messed up dreams. So there they go. The more you read,
Americans.
right? The more you read, the more black people get washed out of the bill. But what you was gonna say, bro?
They're using the term Americans as opposed to the descendants of freedmen, right?
Facts. Fact.
Like so those are the people, those are the people who the damage was done to, right? When you like it's so crazy to even avoid that because in those documentaries, the documentary that CNN did, particularly all through that documentary, the term freedman was used. In the descendants of freedmen, you know, there's no way to avoid that. You already had the Freedmen's Bureau. You already had Freedmen's Bank. You, like I said earlier, you had a whole section of title of the United States Code at Title 8 dedicated specifically to freedmen. I posted a link about that earlier today on Facebook for one brother, brother Rashawn. So I'm just saying, like, even with the use of the term black, how do you jump from black to Americans and disadvantaged people? Disadvantaged this and Americans that.
Wait. Well, look. They're gonna jump again. Let's read this next part. We're gonna see the jump again. Let me blow this up a little bit more so the people. It's not gonna blow up like that. Okay, so let's. The administration is also releasing new information regarding President Biden's American Jobs Plan proposals to create jobs and build wealth in where communities of color.
See, and to the point of the other New York Times article, I just had to share that New York Times article earlier with one of the people inside of one of those Moorish groups who said reparations or advocating for reparations is just a waste of time. And I had to show that New York Times article where it talks about the black startups in this country since the influx of or the infusion of capital into this economy from the federal government of dealing with COVID relief. How black business startups are outpacing everybody else's. So it just goes to show that black people are not necessarily concerned with getting jobs working for white people. Black people really want that money, the money that they keep saying that they're against. Like the mayor of Tulsa, I'm against cash payments. You know why? Because with that cash, you can take that cash and do some shit with it. Right? You don't have to be dependent. You don't have to wait for some kind of loan to come through. You don't have to wait for all of that kind of stuff. And now also with that cash, it's easy for you to deal with the collateral issue. For a lot of business owners, the fact that they don't have collateral or enough collateral to secure loans and lines of credit in the first place for black business owners has been a problem for us over the years. And so you get the type of money that you really deserve based on the racial attacks and things of that nature that have happened to your families and our families. You don't need to worry about the fact that you don't have the capital, the collateral anymore. Now you want to have all the things you need to succeed. So they want to keep you away from all of those things that will help you to become independent. That's right. Cash makes you more independent. It makes you more independent. That's an actual fact. And that's all I'm really trying to say. And this is why they want to keep you away from it.
That's right. Let's read this part because as y'all can see, I have this highlighted. Oh, man. Okay, it says using the government's purchasing power to drive an additional $100 billion to small disadvantaged business owners. That should say black.
That's what the article started out about, talking about black people.
The article, they always do that. Go back and look at the video we did last year on Joe Biden's platform when he was running for president. it was the same type of breakdown. It started off blackety,
Exactly.
blackety, black, and then the next thing you know, it was for everybody else. So
That's
let's
a
read
fact.
what this says. The federal government is the largest consumer of goods in the world, buying everything from software to elevator services to financial and asset management. Federal procurement is one of our most powerful tools to advance equity and build wealth in underserved communities.
Mm.
The lines got blurred right there, underserved communities. And yet, just roughly 10% of federal agencies' total eligible contracting dollars typically go to small disadvantaged businesses, SDBs, a category under federal law for which Black-owned, Latino-owned, and other minority-owned businesses are presumed to qualify. Increasing federal spending with these businesses will help all of them businesses. Everybody already got something specific, but when it comes to us, it's all of these businesses will help more Americans realize their entrepreneurial dreams and help narrow racial wealth gaps. So now it went from narrowing the Black racial wealth gap in the beginning of the document to narrowing all racial wealth gaps. It continues. In 2019, for instance, the gap in business ownership between Black and Latino households, it can never just be Black alone. Relative to white households, accounted for 25% of the overall racial wealth gap between these groups. We don't want to see other groups. We just want to see us. This is why we have to reestablish the Freedmen's Bureau. I suggest, and the brothers and I are in agreement on this, calling it the Bureau of Freedmen Affairs, because we need things specifically for us so that we can handle our own affairs. And we don't have to include anybody in the handling of our own affairs. We're not saying that other people who are disadvantaged shouldn't receive. What we're saying is we're tired of everybody, other disadvantaged groups receiving. And then when it's our turn, they either say no or they try to include everybody else. And then what winds up happening is the descendants of the freedmen, those of us who have ancestors that were enslaved in this country, wind up getting put at the back burner. And then some second gen immigrant in New York with the wine business from the Caribbean, some second gen Nigerian, et cetera, they are the ones who receive all of the business grants, the wealth in Black neighborhoods, freedmen neighborhoods remains the same, and they get to point to these examples of these second gen immigrants and say, look at what we did for Black people.
Right.
This is a fight, family.
It's trick knowledge, man.
Trick knowledge all day. This is
Yeah,
a fight,
man.
fam.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man.
You know,
Go ahead, brother Josh.
Yeah, man. Got me a little time, so I've been wanting to go in on that. I came in right when you was hitting on the subject I wanted to talk about, and I'm gonna share my screen. I'm gonna share my screen because I want to talk about. Let me see. This is it here. I think this is it. Hold on, no, this is the one. Yeah. Let me know when you can see my screen. All right, cool. Yeah, so I wanted everybody to understand the language that's being used now. It was a similar language that was being used in the bill that got passed where Black farmers who had been historically disadvantaged, were made kind of the face of the bill. And it was saying small disadvantaged business. This is the terminology under the Small Business Association. And so I'm just going to read what it says here. Are you a small disadvantaged business? It says qualifications for the program are similar to those for the 8A business development program. A small business must be at least 51% owned and controlled by a socially and economically disadvantaged individual or individuals. It says African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Pacific Americans, subcontinent Asian Americans, and Native Americans are presumed to qualify. Other individuals can qualify if they show a, quote, preponderance of the evidence, end quote, that they are disadvantaged. All individuals must have a net worth of less than $750,000, excluding the equity of the business as primary residence. Successful applicants must also meet applicable size standards for small businesses in their industry. So I'm gonna stop here, and I just wanted to say, look, when you look at this language, all right, let's look at this, just the word small disadvantage. I mean, that's fine, but I just want everybody to know why we are disadvantaged is not the same reason why everybody else is disadvantaged.
That's right.
When you look at Tulsa, Oklahoma, you see this. You didn't see none of these people as a part of the victims. You didn't see none of that. But you look at Elaine, Arkansas, you see this. You didn't see none of this. When you look at any of them other massacres, any of those joints, Rosewood, you see this. But somehow, when we talk about the same disadvantage, and when we're looking at like the Joe Biden administration breaking down the doors and using the death, destruction, and plunder of these people to once again break down the door so these people can reap in the benefits. I want to understand how somebody who may have come on an H-1B visa from a country where it's just opportunities are just not as abundant as they are here because you got billions of people. How are they on the same level of disadvantage and get the same stuff as my family, or as myself, and having a net worth of less than $750,000? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess if you're a business owner, maybe I can understand that, but I mean, most of us is nowhere close to that. Most of this group is there's only a small percentage of this group is anywhere close to that. So, to me, it's like, I mean, if you want to have this classification, okay, but this need to be, if you're going to put us a part of this, don't say that we're a part of the small disadvantaged group. So this is all we get. No, we need to be a part of this, and we need to be a part of some other class of people that gets more than just, we don't just get what everybody else gets.
Hold on. Kato said, can we please stop saying I don't have nothing against other groups getting help? F those people. They are not out here fighting for us. I have a problem with it. I can't help but to feel them on that. And the only thing I was saying was, there are other disadvantaged groups, but they're getting help and we're not included in that.
That's what
every time we fight for something, they include everybody else in it.
That's the
because
point.
They don't want to do nothing specifically for us. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, and like my thing is, if you're gonna say, explain to me the disadvantage. If you come over here as a first generation person that immigrates to America, where you're illegal or legal, why do you? I mean, like, it's rights to citizenship. It's advantages to citizenship, and it damn should be advantages to being the original citizens who built up all the wealth in this old $1 trillion generational debt. That should be. You can't put us on the same level, and you can't you can't equalize our disadvantage. So if they want to make something for them, but see, the thing is too, like, it should be, if you're going to do that, make it like, show me the stories of these other groups. Show me the disadvantage. We don't see those stories painted. They tried. Right. They tried with the most recent COVID-19 hate crimes bill, trying to paint some type of history. But the history they was painting was just from 2020 and 2021. They didn't even go back and really go in on the disadvantage, because then you have to talk about Japanese intern. Oh, they got reparations. Then you would have to talk about, some various Native Americans. Oh, they got some type of remedy. But I'm going to keep reading just because this is key to understand.
Before
right?
you finish, Josh, I want to just interject one thing. You got like the Black Power RBG groups out there, and there's a reason why like the Pan-African type groups, the Malik Zulu Shabazz, etc., are out there. They're pushing their own agenda, right? On the flip side of that, you got the Black Boule buffer class puppet Negroes like Roland Martin and them out there providing the press to the captured Democrat. So it's like, if we're not out there, if we're not centered in that fight, that's why we ask y'all to help support this platform so we can make it blow up. I believe that we have a solution to what ails us, and it starts with this political fight for reparations. And there's not too many people on social media talking politics the way that we're talking it. Like, we just got to be real. Yeah, go ahead, Brother Josh.
Okay. Yeah, I want to get to this because
can you blow it up some? It's hard to see.
Hold on, let me how do I do that? Here we go. Is better?
Oh yeah, much better, much better.
Okay. So in a previous program, we went back and showed how they kind of came up with the disadvantaged business or historically disadvantaged group language. I can't remember exactly. It was the program we were talking about, the Black Farmers Bill, which was the all non-white farmers bill, basically. But I wanted to read this because this is talking about like when the bill changed, and it just gives you a little bit more insight. It says this is June. This is an article from a year ago, June 1st, 2020. It said last month, this SBA moved to edit its regulations, taking a red pen to its current rules governing small disadvantaged businesses, or SDBs, as described in the Federal Register. This post will highlight what the new rule will mean for current SDBs and how businesses can become eligible for SDB subcontractor status under the new rule. While the SDB program is still alive and kicking, the rules will be simplified to eliminate a lot of language that is simply no longer applicable. Why is the new rule important? And it's just talking about, it says, all right, I read it. The federal government aims to set aside certain percentages of its awarded contracts to particular groups on an annual basis. Right now, agencies strive to set aside at least 5% of all prime and subcontracts for SDBs each year. Despite this stated goal, all federal programs for SDB prime contractors have been discontinued, with only the government-wide and agency-specific goals for percentage of federal contract and/or subcontract dollars awarded to SDBs each year remaining. According to SBA, currently there is no SDB set-aside program. There is no statutory authority for the SDB price evaluation adjustment, and the SBA does not administer an SDB certification program. Still, agencies utilize the SDB status as a designation for federal subcontracting programs. So basically, it's saying like we didn't have nothing set aside for that. Right now, I know that it's not specific for us, but just understand, like last year, there was nothing set aside for anybody. At least SDB kind of carting off, whatever percentage of the population that would be a straight white man or whatever. I guess that would cover us, a large group. But other than that, everybody, probably everybody else qualifies. So let's see. Enter the new rule. The new rule updates regulatory standards for SDB contracting programs, which should be implemented on August 2020 without further action unless significant adverse comment is received, blah, blah, blah. What does the new rule do? Functionally, the new rule does two things. First, it will amend 124, blah, 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 of the SBA's regulations located in Chapter 13 of the CFR. I don't know what that is. Federal Register. Okay, essentially, it moves the previous definition of SDB to a new location and eliminates any references to SBA's SDB program and appeal procedure. The amended will also describe eligibility requirements for SDB. So basically, it's saying like if you wanted to protest or appeal, they won't have that in the bill. So I guess they're thinking that when they add in more language and they're going to open it up for people to come and get this money that's set aside for small disadvantaged businesses, they don't want you to, you know, they don't want to give you the game on how to protest and appeal because they know it's going to be a whole lot of white folks protesting and appealing. It says because SDB status will be utilized exclusively by agency administrative subcontractor programs, the SBA is formally stepping back, which brings us to the second thing the new rule will do. It will remove a lot of excess regulations. If implemented as anticipated, the new rule will remove these regulations, which currently cover how the SB. All right, so it says, how do I become SDB under the new rule? You got to meet these two criteria. Number one, you got to qualify as small under a contract assigned NAICS code, and two, be owned and controlled by one or more socially and economically disadvantaged individuals. Now we already went back in here. We said to be a disadvantaged individual, this is the qualifications. Your business has to be 51% owned and controlled by socially and economically disadvantaged individuals. You got to be a member of these groups, or you got to be, I guess, a white woman or a gay white man. I'm not sure, but now, what kind of got me was
I wanna address something real quick, Josh. I gotta address this. I gotta address this real quick, and we got Sister Tamara coming on. We're gonna get into the Lenintown, Athens, Georgia thing. So, but I gotta address this right quick. I just brought Sister Tamara onto the stream. Black Ray said, been stalling on starting the YouTube. I am going to have to. I am just tired of hearing Black history lessons and complaints, but no plans to combat it. Most people that come to channels like this, Black first already. I don't know how many times you've come to our channel, Black Ray, but we have plans. We have a lot of plans in place, actually, and we speak on those plans. We're having a reparations and justice rally in Atlanta, downtown Atlanta, Georgia, on June 18th at 11 a.m. So
at the Capitol,
at the state capitol, Liberty Plaza. So you can't kind of talk about people talking on YouTube while you talking about starting the YouTube channel to talk about the same stuff we're talking about. But we're not just sitting here just talking, fam. No, that's not what we're doing. We're trying to be an upstart to our own media platform and our own media voice. We are about that action, point blank, period. So,
and understand, we also have the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen, which is a 501c3, and it's dedicated to the purpose of trying to deal with this particular issue of the racial wealth gap. I don't know what else there is that you're supposed to be talking about or trying to overcome at this point in time, right? So you're talking about, having a plan to do something about it. So many people, to the brother Black Ray or whoever, do you know how many people have claimed to have plans to do something about this racial wealth gap that has existed ever since we've been here? You know how long we've been in this country? Do you know how long this gap in wealth has been in existence, brother? This is not a new issue, and it's not something that one person has been able to eradicate. Not one single person, and we've had some great minds come through our particular group. Not one of these people have been able to eradicate this problem yet. If you think you're the one who is now going to instantly eradicate it by starting a YouTube channel, by all means, brother, be one, all of that, Black Power, do whatever it is that you think you're going to do it. But don't try to disrespect us because we're talking about something and trying to bring enlightenment and education to people who may not know. Just because you may know some of the things we're talking about, that doesn't mean that everybody does.
That's right.
Okay, so part of the job is for anybody who's trying to enlighten people is to consistently teach on a specific subject. That's what you got to do. And all of our people, and I'm going to tell you something, a lot of our young people are very disconnected from the plight of our people in this country. A lot of our people that are connected to the plight of our people don't really know the science of the racial wealth gap. You'd be surprised how many Black people think that you can fix the racial wealth gap by do-for-selferism. You'd be surprised how many of them think that and have been thinking that for the past 100 some odd years and still haven't been able to do it. So I would love to see what Black Ray comes up with on his YouTube channel.
Yes, me as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
and
Josh,
look, I'm gonna wrap it up here.
Okay, yeah, because I want to bring Sister Tamara on so we can get into this piece about Lenintown in Athens, Georgia, and UGA and what they did to this family. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, and I want to say, you know, in regards to plans and all of that. Yeah, I mean, the most consequential plan that I would invite you to also, if you're going to start a YouTube channel, to start advocating for is the back home strategy. If you're not familiar with that, you need to get the book called The Devil You Know by Charles Blow. You can also go on our channel and watch the interview that we did with him. We question him, and you know, he gives his responses to the plan. We actually did a whole book club
That's right.
program with that
on the Be the Power, the BTP Media Group channel.
Yeah, so it's our other channel.
I'm going to put that link in the chat. Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, so hey, man, I welcome you to the YouTube space. Do good work, but just understand reparations over everything. And you need to be an advocate for the back home strategy, because that's the only plan that we can get some power in America. And that is if we get half, or at least half of the people that moved, that were chased out, or fled the South to go out to these other states, California, Texas, Florida, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, or wherever, to these destination places. We need to return to the South, and because those are the only states where we can ever have a chance of getting a majority. So we can get we can elect freemen, senators and House reps, governors, state reps, and dominate the politics. Then we can get some things moving. So we talk about plans. Hey, please come to the table with your show, but you need to be pushing that plan, because that's the best plan that we got out here. So I'm gonna wrap up by just talking about. See, we know that people are going to be included on this small disadvantaged business now that they talk about giving out bags. We know it's going to be, and they talk about setting specific set-asides for contracts for small disadvantaged businesses that really should be specific set-asides for contracts for descendants of freedmen who owe reparations, but they're letting everybody else access. So let me read this. It says, under the new rules, can my SDB status be challenged? It says, while there is no direct way for an entity to actively challenge another business's self-proclaimed SDB status under the new rules, although there are indirect options such as an inspector general complaint. See, this we might need to. Hey, we gotta play with business, man. If you see somebody out here that they claim to be a small disadvantaged group or whoever, and just go ahead, just maybe you want to start making some inspector general complaints. No, take them out of business, man. Those people don't need to be. This is supposed to be for us anyway. So it says penalties for misrepresenting eligibility are intense. If a business misrepresents that it's a small business, that it is small business concern, owned and controlled by socially and economically disadvantaged individuals for the purposes of obtaining a federal prime or contract, it may be punished by a fine not more than $500,000 or by imprisonment for not more than 10 years, or both. Or two, be subject to the administrative remedies prescribed in the Program Fraud Civil Remedies Act, be subject to suspension, disbarment, be ineligible for almost any small business contracting program for up to 3 years. See, so my thing is, we need to, I hope somebody challenges this. Because I want this to be narrowed as much as possible. Right now, it's so wide. Anybody can be under the cape of a small disadvantaged business or small or historically disadvantaged individuals, social and economically. I want that to be more specifically defined. And then, because right now, I mean, is a trans man, is a gay man, a gay white man, or a white woman, like who will be, as long as your net worth is in the category, who will be disqualified from that? That's what I want to know.
Indeed. So let's bring our sister on, our senator, our freedman senator, Sister Tamara Johnson Shirley on. Peace, sis. Peace. How you doing?
Hey, Brother Naheem. Hey, Brother Ali, Brother Josh.
Hey.
Good evening, fellas.
Hey, family, how's everything?
Oh, it's coming along.
Peace, sis.
Hey.
So, we're having this discussion tonight, and I know you have reached out to me earlier about Town, and you spoke with one of the sisters there about what they're trying to do, what Athens is trying to do. So if you want to share with the family some of that conversation, then I'll get into some of what I researched on it. But it's just basically from the article, and I'll give a breakdown to what I found.
Okay. So thank you, family. I appreciate the opportunity to share with you Town, which is right there in Athens, where one of our brothers reside. Athens, Georgia is home of UGA. The story came to me. I got a text, I want to say on Sunday morning, about Town and how this town is akin to our version of Tulsa, quote unquote, but without the violence. They came in. This Town was directly basically right there at UGA, right there on at the campus. In the article, I think they talk about how people would park in their yards to go over to UGA to the games, and that was like a source of income. That was a source of income for people to park in their yards or park along the street, and people would watch their cars. The residents of Town, and UGA wanted to build dormitories and a parking deck. Under this urban renewal plan, there was an opportunity for them to literally take the land from the residents of Town, and they did, and gave them pennies, basically change for that land, and demolished their homes. Came in the middle of the night. I actually spoke with one of the former residents, and she talked about how they came and knocked the houses down, and that was her neighborhood, that was her home, and built dormitories and built a parking deck. And that property now belongs, of course, to UGA. Where are they now? They've been fighting for many years. This happened in 1962, and they've been fighting for many years to get some resolve. But what was most heartbreaking today, and there's still a lot of this story that I am researching so that I can tell it, to the extent that it needs to be told, that what they've done now to quote unquote give them some sort of reparations, and we know this is not reparations, family, is they're giving them whatever money's UGA, and I still, like I said, I still need to research to find out the specifics, but whatever money's now is coming from UGA for taking these lands from these residents. That money is being funneled through the city of Athens. And it's breaking my heart. And when I heard her she told me this today herself, that the money.
Wait, sis. Wait. Let's kind of clarify this for the family so they can understand what you're saying. What's happening is the families are not getting this money, this so-called reparations. They're giving it to the city of Athens, not the family. And go ahead. I just wanted to explain why, and I'm going to get into the article, and then I'm going to give an example of how Georgia takes laws and then uses it for criminalization of, and usually towards Black people.
Yeah.
But go ahead, sis.
They've taken the money, and she did not use the word funnel, but when she explained to me that the monies would not come to her and the other, living residents that are still alive and their descendants, they're not, the money's not coming directly to them. The money is, and when she said it, all I could think was funnel. So they're funneling the money that UGA is paying through the city budget. And how diluted would that be? Because that's not coming to those that, who it belongs to. And it just broke my heart. And that's where my conversation with her stayed today. And I'm going to continue to talk to her, and I'm going to continue to research and understand more about what's happening and what's going to happen. But it just breaks my heart that these people now have not gotten what they rightfully deserve. It really is heartbreaking.
Yes. I mean, when you told me earlier, I got to looking into it, and I was like, I had came across this article, but I didn't get a chance to read the whole thing. So naturally, when you contacted me, this is an article that was published by The Intercept, April 9th, 2021, inside the winning fight for reparations in Athens, Georgia. 50 Black families were forcibly displaced from their homes in the 1960s. Now the descendants are seeking redress and a chance to testify before Congress. Remember the sister at Tulsa, the 106 years old, I believe, something like that. 107. She just testified. See, they can't escape it. They can't escape it. But let me not get into that right now. Let's get into this, right? So we scroll down. So let me see. Because the sister explained to Tamara that they weren't getting the monies, that the monies was basically, and I think Sister Tamara used the right word, funneling the money through the city of Athens, right? So let's read from here. It says, the Athens budget planning period runs from now through June. As part of that process, a committee chaired by Thomas Whitehead and fellow Lenintown descendant Bobby Crook will make recommendations for how to spend the reparations funding. What? It's supposed to go to their family. It's supposed to go to the 50 displaced family. Gertz, who is the mayor, is looking to hire an economist to help community members calculate how much more money Lenintown descendants might have today had they been permitted to stay in their homes. I like his approach. He plans to first approach Mercer Baradaran, a former UGA law professor and the author of Color of Money, a book that I started and didn't finish, a book on the racial wealth gap. Baradaran now works as a law professor at the University of California, Irvine, and progressives nationally have been pushing Biden to appoint her to lead the office of the comptroller of the currency. When she was tasked as a transition team member on Biden's administration, a lot of people thought that it was going to translate into some sort of position where she could have some influence on possibly reparations, possibly HR 40. There were some people that said Biden is not going to keep her in that position, and they guessed right. They did that. He's not going to have her as a part of the administration in any economic role because of the book that she wrote about the color of money, which was about the racial wealth gap in Black banks. So Parker, meaning Mariah Parker, the commissioner, she says she sees the work as focused on both delivering material redress to descendants of Lenintown and launching additional efforts to help other lost and displaced communities in Athens. She and several local activists plan to ramp up pressure on their state legislature to change the so-called gratuity laws in the Georgia Constitution. This is the reason why the victims of Lenintown and their descendants are not getting the monies directly. It continues, the clause, which was initially passed as an anti-corruption measure, prevents local governments from providing direct cash payments to individuals and nonprofits. This hampers not only reparations efforts, but also broader economic relief. You see, this is what Georgia does. Let me read this again, and I want to go to something else and we start talking about it. It says the clause, this gratuity clause in Georgia's constitution, was initially passed as an anti-corruption measure. That's what it was passed for. Before we get into our commentary, the rest of our commentary on this, let me share this. I want people to see this law. This is the OCGA, the official code of Georgia, annotated subsection 16-8-4. This is a theft by conversion law, right? So I just want to read a little bit of this so y'all can know what's going on. A person commits the offense of theft by conversion when having lawfully obtained funds or other property of another, including but not limited to leased or rented personal property under an agreement or other known legal obligation to make a specified application of such funds for a specified disposition of such property. He knowingly converts the funds of property to his own use in violation of the agreement or legal obligation. So the reason why I bring that up is because initially, this theft by conversion law was an anti-corruption law. So whereas if you were like a stockbroker or you ran an insurance company, or maybe you are an insurance broker, you couldn't basically gyp people out of their money and convert any of their residuals, et cetera, into your own money. Somehow, when complaints were being made by places like Rent-A-Center, Aaron's, and other rental places, rental car companies, et cetera, disproportionately black folk, right, who can't pay the things that they're renting, and they try to hold on to it for a little bit longer. What these companies were doing were filing lawsuits. And so Georgia then changed this code. They changed the code so that theft by conversion can include these things which disproportionately affect black people. This is why I say this battle that we're fighting is it's like pushing an elephant uphill in a pair of roller skates. But I got my skates on and I got some strong arms, and I'm never gonna stop pushing. And neither should any of you. So, Sister Tamara, if you want to continue speaking to that, and how should we approach this fight for these people in their reparations claim?
Yeah, brother. So, I told her today, I said, I'm a very spiritual person, and I just know that God is in the midst, and all of this is moving accordingly, because HB 541, for those of you that don't know about the bill, I'm not sure if I've been on the broadcast to share HB 541, but let me just kind of tell you guys again, for those of you who may not know, there was a bill introduced this legislative session here in Georgia by Representative Roger Bruce. HB 541 addresses the impact of slavery and Jim Crow on those of us who are descendants of slavery here in Georgia. So it creates a commission to look at Georgia's laws, to look at, what's happened during those times that would have affected those of us who are descendants of slavery. But it's a commission to do a study, right? This commission is this bill is very strategic in that the commission is a commission of 11. 7 of them will be appointed by Republican leadership. Now that's strategy, and I'll tell you about that in just a minute. Of those 7, 3 of those will be appointed by the governor. Of those 3, one of those persons is the chairperson of the commission. Now, the strategy is it's going to push the narrative of reparations and Jim Crow and slavery. It's going to push that here in Georgia. This is our attempt here in the state of Georgia to do what is being done in California, was what was initiated in Oregon and New Jersey, New York, and all these other states that are pushing their own state initiatives for reparations. But how this affects Lenintown, and I said this to the lady this today on the phone, was that this is something that we can address in this bill, in this commission. Is this gratuities? This law. This could be something that should be addressed with HB 541 in this commission. So we're very timely. I think the part that breaks my heart is that this has already been passed with the city of Athens, and the family agreed to this. Those that were a part of this, they agreed to this. And honestly, I just think their backs were up against the wall. And it's for the conversation I had today and have had with her for the last couple of days is, they don't even know we exist. I told her that we're reparationists. I really gave her something to hold on to. I said, it's a bunch of us out here. She said, well, she's in her 70s and she don't know us, and when I told her I'm not the only one that talk like this, I said, it's a whole bunch of us out here. So just knowing that she gonna have some people behind her that, have vision beyond, they felt like their backs was against the wall, and I feel like they made a deal that they shouldn't have made with the city, and they didn't push this because they didn't know they had us. And family, I know we go back and forth with we're on the right track, and we have to continue to come together and organize and keep doing what we're doing, because these elders like them, they fell into a trap with this one. But we got to make sure that this don't keep happening to us as a people across this nation.
That's right. And this is the same, this is what Dr. D has been talking about a lot, warning against all of these so-called piecemeal, so-called reparations agreements that they're trying to do through city and state initiatives and so forth. We got to be able to really make our folks understand that the only way this thing is going to truly be addressed is through federal action. There's no way. Let me just say this. If you saw the CNN piece on the Greenwood section of Tulsa, Oklahoma, when the mayor said that he was against cash payments, one of the things that he said was, where would the money come from? Because he's saying the city and the state doesn't have the money to pay what's really owed to these people. But if you look at what's really owed to these people and their families, the city and the state doesn't have the money to pay for it. So he's like, where's the money going to come from? This is why the people from Tulsa, the people from the descendants of the Colfax Massacre, the people from Lenintown, all these people have to be made to understand that all of this needs to be a part of the federal reparations push. It shouldn't be treated as separate, aside incidents from the larger plight of Black America, because these things have been happening all over America. What happened to the people in Lenintown happened to people all across this country. It wasn't just them. So it should all be a part of one thing, and we should all be moving together as a unit.
Say it. You said it. That's it. You're right. And there lies the problem. You said it, Brother Ali. Thank you.
That's right.
Man, it's crazy. Oh boy.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we have a fight. We've never not had a fight in this nation. We are the freedom fighters. We are fighting for our freedom, true freedom, because we will not be secure in anything until we have greater economic security. And that's just a fact. And a lot of what we see today is our neighborhoods all across America are descending into decay. And it's due to poverty. And there's no fix that's available right now that is going to fix that. Biden's proposals doesn't fix that. It's too inclusive, number one, and it's not nearly enough. It's a small drop in the proverbial bucket when it comes to the price tag, the cost that's needed to address the problems that we have as a people across this nation. Like I grew up in the streets. My ear is still connected to the pulse of a lot of what's going on in the streets. I follow a lot of channels that report on a lot of the stuff that's going on in the streets, and it's crazy. Crime is going up 200 and 300% in major cities all across the United States of America. 200 to 300%. I mean, we have to fight. And everybody has messages that they share and bring, especially on YouTube and in this social media space. But when it boils down to it, if the solution is not oriented in politics and the development of policy for our people, first and foremost, freedmen first, then everything that we're talking about at the end of the day is for naught. Period. And we have Freedmen channel. Sister Tamara does a live stream. And her live stream is about politics and reparations and what's going on in the state of Georgia. And Sister Tamara is also going to run against Warnock. Matter of fact, hold on. What was I going to bring up? I was going to bring up something with Warnock. What was it? I think it was in this same article. It was in this same article. Okay, it says in January and February, Thomas Whitehead sent letters to Ossoff and Warnock's offices to request assistance tackling Georgia's gratuities clause. The senators have not yet answered. Now, this article was published in April. This man, I don't know who Thomas Whitehead is, but I'm going to look these people up. I'm going to definitely look up everybody mentioned in this article, whom I do not know already. I actually know some of these people. And it says that they haven't answered yet. And I assume it's safe to say that they haven't answered. But you know who would answer? Had this been brought on their desk, if they was the senator of Georgia, if she was the senator of Georgia, our sister Tamara Johnson Shirley would have answered. She would have been right out here in Athens.
That's right.
Right out here in Athens, rallying the troops, period. You see? So we have to be clear on being policy-based as opposed to being captured Democrats who are just voting just because that's all the Democrats are going to do. The Republicans have passed some draconian voter suppression efforts. We need your donations now. And I see the ads with Chuck Schumer and what's her name from Georgia, Stacey Abrams, et cetera. So they're gearing up for 2022 already. You wanted to say something to that, Sister Tamara?
Yeah, I do. Thank you, Brother Naheem. Yes, I am prepared. I'm excited about this rally on June the 18th. I'll have an opportunity to make a very public, formal announcement at the rally, the reparations rally on June the 18th. And this is the second, incident where I have to do Raphael Warnock's work. I just did a story on the gentleman who was killed in Columbia, and Warnock did not respond. This man was a Georgia resident. He was a Morehouse grad, and his family had reached out to him. He was killed in Columbia, Black man. And this is the second incident, this Town incident, where I had to, people are reaching out to me with this kind of information. That family, the Town residents, they have reached out, and as of today, still no answer from Warnock or Ossoff in regards to Town. But you're
Wow.
right. I would definitely be on the case. I would definitely be, she and I have been talking, and it's sad that we've sent folks to Washington just because they skin folks, but that
That's
don't
right.
mean they kin folks. And
That's right.
we got to be mindful, like Brother Naheem just said, it's about policy. If we don't move the needle for us, who will? I mean, they're excited about the Asian bill, and I expected him to go there and do things for other communities, but not neglect your own, brother. I did not expect him to go there and totally neglect the Black community.
That's right.
Wow.
Egregious.
Wow.
This is,
Oh, man.
When the benign neglect is coming from your own, when they're helping to push the benign neglect, if it's frustrating when you start to understand politics. It's one thing, as Baldwin said, to be a Black person in America and to be in a constant state of anger or rage, et cetera, et cetera. But it's another thing when you're in politics or you understand politics and you see the game that's being played and you're being knocked around like an air hockey puck from one hole to across the table to another hole, hoping that you get in, and then they just take you out and just finish knocking you around again. I mean, it's and that's what we are. We're air hockey pucks to people on either side of the table. The table is the political landscape. The table is access to capital, et cetera, et cetera. What Biden is proposing is not enough. It's not enough.
I put an image in the inbox that I want you to pull up before we go up. I know we gotta go, but I just wanted you to. It's a tweet from Jason Johnson, and I really want.
Oh wow,
you to
that's
read this.
Yeah, that's a shock coming from this guy.
Coming from that guy, but it just goes to show you the impact that that we're actually having. And I say I'm talking about everybody, who is pushing for specificity, not
That's
just
right.
BTP. Everybody who's pushing for specificity is having an impact on people, even though they're trying to deny it. It's actually showing up in their language, and you can see it here. So I just wanted you to share that with the people.
Yeah, let me read it real quick. Jason Johnson, I'm shocked. I have to be honest. We were talking about people being on strings and Boule buffer class gatekeeper, etc. But this is a shock. He says Tulsa Massacre was an attack on Black people, not minorities. Where you get that language from? Where do you, as Ali just said, this language of specificity started with, and I can say it, the ADOS movement. And it's now being carried by the Freedmen movement. Jason Johnson was one of the people that was attacking the ADOS movement. He continues, not minorities, not disadvantaged groups, which means that he read the Biden fact sheet that we just read not too long ago. It means that he read that. For Biden to leave Tulsa without cutting a check to the survivors, cut the check. That's that language that we heard when that groundswell was being created around reparations. It was a whole hashtag out there, hashtag cut the check. Tulsa, without cutting a check to the survivors of documented terrorism, shows a lack of commitment to address past and ongoing discrimination against Black people. To sum up that last sentence, benign neglect. Period, family. Period. So we know what needs to be done. We know what needs to be done, and we have to do it. We have to do it. This rally on the 18th is so important. We're losing in so many ways. We are losing in so many ways that it becomes disheartening. It becomes disheartening. You watch COVID ravage. I'm from New York City. I live in Georgia. When I watch nothing but rest in peace flood my timeline for months because of COVID, while doing BTP live streams on the disparity, while cops decided that this was a perfect time to quote unquote turn up on black people. I mean, you get to the point where the frustration becomes unbearable.
That's right.
Grow up, you're a fighter. I grew up a fighter. I grew up fighting. And I don't just mean freedom fighting, even though I've been in marches and all of that stuff in New York City. I'm talking about fighting. I done had brawl outs with the cops in New York. Brawl out. So to see what's going on now and understand how they are using weak policy prescriptions and including terms like disadvantaged groups and minorities or people of color, it's just another slap in the face, knee on the neck. It's just with a pen. And we have to recognize that for what it is, and we have to call it out. We have to become more politically active to Black Ray. This platform is called Be the Power for a reason, not just be the conversation about it. We talk about running for office. We have a sister on here right now who ran for Senate against Raphael Warnock and is going to run against him again. And we are going to do everything in our power, everything humanly possible to make sure that this sister gets elected, this reparationist freedman sister gets elected and gets this guy up out of here, because we're not doing this anymore. Sour time. So we're coming up on 2 hours. Sister Tamara, if there's anything else that you would like to share with the family, please share and, let people know how they can catch your platform, et cetera, and how they can support.
Thank you, family. I always enjoy. I miss y'all. I need to come back over here a little more often. I don't think I've been over here enough. But now that we are officially back on the campaign trail, I will make sure to add you guys to the rotation and be more regular over here to keep you abreast of what's coming and what we're working on. But again, we're back, and it's going to take, what we didn't have the first time. We came in 6th place, y'all. We did the damn thing with 106,000 votes.
106,000 votes.
Yes, we did it, y'all. That was a lot. And that said a lot with the pennies that we were able to scrape up compared to the millions that were raised. We used our money wisely. We got on the ground and we got the word out. So to come in 6th place with over 100,000 votes, it speaks volumes to the message of reparations and how we're definitely in our moment, and we're in our season. So I just ask you, please, family, to go to the website. It's still the same. It's Tamara for FOR, GeorgiaSpelledOut.com. Get on a monthly contribution. This is a marathon. We're gonna have to run from here until May 24th. That's election day, May 24th of 2022. But get on a monthly plan, get on a schedule with the giving, because it's going to take monies to buy media. We got to have social media. We got to have mailers. We got to have radio. We got to have television. We got to run a race in a way that we didn't run it this last time. And we can't let him outshine us, because they won't know who we are if we don't get out there in the media. So we're going to have to pay for it. So I'm just asking you, family, my ask is $100 a month, from $100 to $170 a month. An individual contribution is $2,900 to a federal candidate. But if you give at least $100 or up to $170 a month, somewhere in there, if you could, it would totally help us to have exactly what we need within the next months, but by May, and prayerfully up through November to win this race to the United States Senate. This is our time. And honestly, this is my 5th run. There's nothing else for me to do after this run. This seat becomes a 6-year term, so we can take it now, or I mean, I'm out of the game, y'all. So let's do it. I'm committed. I'm back in the saddle, and I'm gonna need everybody to get in the saddle with me and get on the website. And like I said, make it a monthly contribution, and we can do this, y'all. I really believe we can. I thank you, and I love you, family, and I appreciate you always giving me an opportunity to share right here on your broadcast.
Well, we love
Definitely,
you
sis.
too.
We love you too, sis. Now, you already know we got your back 1,000%. So, you know, we're gonna make sure that Be the Power does its part as well in the promotion of your candidacy. I mean, I was already out there hitting the streets. This go around, I'm gonna be, me and my children, I'm gonna be out there even harder. Brother Ali, did you want to wrap up with anything before we? Did you want to go in on what Bishop?
Shout out. I want to give a shout out and send some love to Shayna Kim for those tweets. The one from Jason, what's his name? Jason Johnson.
Shout out, Sister Shayna.
Bishop Talbot Swan. Those are excellent pieces, because it just really shows and highlights how people are really beginning to see the benign neglect and are voicing their opinions about it. And that's exactly what we need. We need that to grow. We need that kind of thing to continue to grow so that we can make the impact that we need to make. And we're going to support our sister in her Senate run again. And we're going to make that even bigger this time than it was before.
That's right. That's right. Let me read it, though, before Josh comes on. Bishop Talbot Swan said, the White House announced a $49.5 million grant program for survivors of sexual assault and domestic violence in Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities. Guess how much they announced for survivors of the Tulsa Race Massacre on its 100th anniversary? $0. This is the epitome of benign neglect. We're not having it anymore. We've not really had people talk this talk, even in the 50s and the 60s. You know, I've seen a video where Dr. King was talking about Black worth was as large as some third world countries. I was like, oh, no, King. But he didn't know, right? That's what he was told. We know better now. We know better now. And just because he was wrong on one thing doesn't mean that it weakened any of his other points at all. He was absolutely correct on so many other things. But I just said that to say that we got what the elders gave us. And like Dr. John Henry Clark said, just using this as an analogy, the purpose of the next generation of scholars is to come stand on the shoulders of us, the scholars who came before them, to continue our work and correct any errors that we may have made, basically tighten it up. And that's what we're here doing right now, because the way it's looking in our streets, family, I don't know if a generation comes up after us. I don't know, to be honest with you. We might be the last generation talking this type of talk right here in a way that it can produce something positive for our people. So, Brother Josh, you had anything to share before we got up off air?
Man, that's a scary thing to think about, ain't it? That's a scary thing to think about. You know, but it's real, man, because like when you see how unconscious of how to view things that the next generation is, they seem like they don't really see it as the present day ill stemming from something. They go further back. You know, they seem to think that it, you know, doesn't really matter, that, you know, race consciousness doesn't really matter, or they can just work themselves out of it. And then by the time they get to the point of realization, you know, what would the situation in America be? You know, the demographics is definitely changing. It's just a sad thing. And one of the things I noticed, though, I wanted to bring light to before I end it, is it's like the same thing that, just like you mentioned, the in Athens and with Georgia, the bill to the law that ended, that was trying to curb corruption, ended up being something to be used, against us. In the same way I see like the Civil Rights Act of 1964. They claim that they can't do nothing for specificity in the federal policy, because then that will be discriminatory. So I mean that's problematic. So again, we have to bring the focus back to Biden. When I was listening to Biden's speech in Tulsa, he was saying, well, Joe, why don't you just get this thing done? He was like, well, right now we have a vote. We have, I guess he was talking in terms of HR 40. Well, right now we got, we don't have a majority in the Senate. I mean, we don't have a majority in the House. We don't have enough votes in the House. We don't have enough votes in the Senate. I'm like, well, look, you need to stop making excuses of what the Congress is doing. You can take action right now. What you can do right now, you can make your own commission right now. What else can you do right now? You can form a new Bureau of Freedmen Affairs right now.
That's right. That's right. And we gotta, let me say, Josh, we gotta it's time for us to start just drafting our proposals, getting some action behind them in the form of petitions, and lay out what you just said. Let's demand that Joe Biden form a commission on reparations and reestablish the Freedmen's Bureau. I mean, we could debate on the name. We over here at BETHEPOWER like the Bureau of Freedmen Affairs, but we don't want to make no unilateral moves without speaking to the collective, right? But either way, we should draft something up and then start a petition and then start a nationwide campaign and see if we could just start building with some of these other media channels. Because let me not say what I'm about to say. Go ahead, brother, about some of these channels. Go ahead, finish.
No. I mean, look, whether you want to call it something different or not, the point, we just understand language, we understand history, so we understand what name would be the most meaningful. So we just understand the
wait, let me
language.
clarify. When I speak about some of these other channels, I'm just talking about channels that just talk about this. I don't really necessarily see them as reparationists, right? They have good content, but now, like, okay, well, we put this petition together. Are you going to help us back the petition, being that we share basically the same content? You see what I'm saying? So that's more of what I was getting at.
Yeah, but that's all I really wanted to get into, man. I think everybody that's a part of some type of, whether you identify as freedman, which you should, or not, if you are a reparationist, you also need to have at the front of your advocacy and your demands a new bureau be established, or I don't want to say reestablished, but be established, the Bureau of Freedmen Affairs. We need to have that in place. Like, that needs to be a demand. That's a blanket demand from everybody who is trying to get specific justice and specific, like, to remedy our ills, to close the racial wealth. If you're a reparationist, or if you just are a part of our tribe, you need to be, and you out here advocating, you need to be demanding Joe Biden's administration to establish a bureau for us.
That's
period.
right. That's right. That's right. So look, fam, we are gonna wrap it up. I want to, obviously shout out to the bros. This is what we do, but I want to give a special thanks to our sister Tamara Johnson Shirley for coming on and gracing our platform. Do not forget, family, we have the rally coming up in Atlanta, Georgia. We are expecting this thing to be a huge event. And if you can get there, be there, downtown Atlanta, Georgia, at the State Capitol building in Liberty Plaza, 11 a.m. is when we're going to start. We are going to talk about reparations and justice. We're going to give a whole breakdown. Sister Tamara is going to speak. Some of the representatives out here in Georgia are going to speak, particularly the brother that is sponsoring the HB 541 bill that Sister Tamara was just speaking of earlier, and the Freedmen Collective, that we're going to get up there and break reparations down. We're going to clear any doubt about what we're fighting for that day, period. So, Ali, you was trying to say something, bro?
I think that our push should be at this point with Joe Biden. I think that if the commission is the thing that's needed, that we need to push him and forget the HR 40 thing. I think we need to focus our energies on him. We need to really just start going at him with a fury. Like, F HR 40. You set the commission up. We're demanding that you do this. We saved your career. We put you in office. We use our political capital to get you there. We want this thing set up, and you have the authority and the power to do it through your office. We want you to do it now.
That's right.
Do it now. That should be our campaign. Forget
Black Americans, I've had your back. You've had my back. Now I got your back. You are absolutely correct, Ali. That eliminates pieces off the chessboard. I don't know. Because I haven't really been on Clubhouse lately. I got on, I think was that yesterday or the day before yesterday. Yesterday, I think it was. And yeah, yesterday. But I think you're right. I'm going to talk with some of the people in the collective, but I think that you are correct, brother. I think we need to start shifting our focus of HR 40, because the person that's sponsoring, the lead sponsor of that bill, was just out there shucking and jiving to fiddler music and djembe drums. What the hell is going on? Yo, this is crazy. So look, fam, we about to get up off of here. Yeah, we definitely need to. We need to have that discussion. I might set up something tomorrow. You was gonna say something, Sister Tamara?
Yeah, you said who was dancing? Is that what I heard about some people from the Congressional Black Caucus?
Oh, you didn't see that, sis?
I heard about it, but I'm like, what?
No. Before we get up out of here, I gotta pull that up. Hold on.
What?
Before we get
like this some sort of celebration? Like, I'm confused.
Oh man, it was disgusting. I mean, it just made me. You just ever feel like giving up for whatever reason? Just watching that, it gave me that just give up feeling. Like, just damn, this is. Let me share this real quick before we get off of here.
Yeah, because I think I'm not the only one. I heard it, but I'm like, what? I still don't think I understand. Like, what were they doing?
Here we go, sis. Joe Biden is out there.
What the?
And think about it,
And
right?
that was Representative Hank Johnson from Georgia, that man
Hank
in the
Johnson.
front.
I kept saying Cedric. I was saying
Hank Johnson. What is this? I don't understand. Is this a celebration?
Tulsa. That was in Tulsa. That's what they was doing out there instead of trying to get money for them people. But you know what that reminded me of, y'all?
What?
It reminded me of this.
Kadoo. White folks ain't that bad. Kadoo. Look at that. Look. I'm so happy. I just do my happy dance.
Oh my gosh!
That's what that reminded me of.
Oh,
yes, that was Sheila Jackson Lee, y'all.
And Hank Johnson, Representative Hank Johnson.
I don't know why I kept saying Cedric. I guess must have had him confused. Hank Johnson, the slow talking dude. So,
but you know something? When
I'm
September 11th, memorial comes around each year. The September 11th memorial. You don't see people out there dancing, and that was a terrible experience. What happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma was a massacre. What are you dancing about?
Exactly.
What is the happy occasion? And then you dancing and you carrying on doing all of this stuff like that. This man talked, the freaking president of the United States came there and talked about everything that happened and left up out of there. Didn't say anything about this is what we're going to do from the federal government. We're going to make sure that you people are straight and that you get everything that you deserve. He talked about it as if people didn't already know the facts of the history and then left. And these people are dancing. Man, this is crazy.
It's crazy. So let's wrap this thing up, family. I'll leave y'all with I don't know, we might have another discussion on this too, because Sister Cynthia had wanted to go in. So we might have a part 2 to this discussion. I'll keep the family tuned into my Twitter and my Facebook page. But I'll leave y'all with the motto of the platform, which is don't just fight the power, become the power. And then and only then will you have the power to make a change. And with that, I say peace.